Welcome back, everybody. My name is Kimberly here at Creating Hanley, and we are revisiting this turkey Dresden. So let me bring this up a little bit for you. I wanted to revisit this because yesterday when I made that video about how to do this, well, one, I didn't finish it, and I'm sort of finishing it now. Two, I forgot what the binding was called. For the life of me, I couldn't remember what the binding was called. This is not binding. This is a border, as you can see. It's just the front, and I have the batting attached to it. So this is a little bit further along than it was in the previous video. But so I just want to show you a couple things here. So yeah, I wanted to tell you about binding. And I knew as soon as I turned the camera off, I would remember that word binding. And so I'm going to do that on these. But I also added a border. As you can see, I just took the scraps, and you can see it's just the same fabric as this. Just I added a little bit of extra because both of these were about a half an inch. This one is a half an inch bigger than this one, so they're a little bit different sizes. So I want to show you what I was doing with this border. You can see I just stuck these flat together, just straight 90-degree angles, and then I just trimmed it around all the way, and then I did that blanket stitch. So let me show you this up close. I did the blanket stitch on the points of the feathers all the way around, and then in between I highlighted each. So on the fold I did just a regular straight stitch down, and then so you can see I don't really like quilt my stuff very much. Like, all this fabric is still open. Like, usually quilters, like, everything is quilted. They'll do like a nice little motif in each feather blade, and they'll do some nice little thing out here, which maybe I still will if I put on a back, but when I put on a back, but right now I'm just going to leave it as is. And then the other thing I did, you can see I just did a straight stitch around the beak and around the little turkey body and around the feet here, just a straight stitch. So that's what I did for that. And then I added this border, and I added 2 stitches, one right close to the background and then one a little bit further away. I think this is about a half an inch away, just to kind of keep it, down. And then I wanted to add something else. So if you do your sandwich right away, you can do the front here, the batting, and then put your backing on. So you have your quilt sandwich, and then so then the backing is face out, right? So these are both face out. And then you just pin them together, pin all 3 layers together, and then you can do your quilting, and then, quilt around this guy, or quilt, however you want to quilt it. And then what I'll show you is on the back, that is what's going to come through on your backing, that pattern, which is really cool. It's kind of fun. So you can do that too. Normally what I do is I just put a whole different motif on the back, and then I'll just use this for Thanksgiving or whatever, and then I'll flip it over and have it for just a regular Tuesday. So it's not just but you could do that too. You could just have your plain fabric if you just wanted to use something like that, or something ultra pretty, or whatever works for you. Your decor in your house matches the plates, I don't know, whatever works. But you can see when you quilt all of the layers together, you're going to get your quilted picture on the other side. So I wanted to mention that. That's another thing I wanted to mention. And then something, as I was working on this, something cool, an idea popped into my head, and I stopped this, and I started the camera so I could show you what I was doing. So as I was adding this extra border, what I'm doing here is placing these blades. So let me bring it down to the table here. So I'm placing these blades, these extra cut blades that I had, like this. Okay. Here we go. Like so. And then I just sew them together, 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then I make a long string. At least I make a string long enough for here, for the length of the placemat that I'm making, this project that I'm making, right? So whatever length this is, I just kind of put a bunch of them together. Now there are 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they start to repeat. I don't know if you can see that very well because this keeps popping up. So yeah, so I just put them all together and I just put them in a row and I just repeated the same order. And then so I'm doing this all the way around. And then when I got to here, I was like, oh, I should turn the camera on and show you what I'm doing. So I take, these. Oh, one fell to the ground. I take these and I just put them in the order that I want. So let's do the orange, let's do the pumpkin, and the plaid, and this golden flower, and then the leaves, the fall leaves. So this is the order that I'm sewing this in. So I'm just going to take it like this. Right sides together, corner to corner, straight line. So a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Right down. Now you can chain piece if you want, but I'm gonna come over here to my iron and I'm just going to iron this open. Just a hot iron. I don't use any steam. Just a hot iron, just like that. And then I think this was the order it was in. So then I'm gonna put this blade on next. Same thing, 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I'll just do this one so you can see what is happening here. So now I'm creating a big long border, a big long strip, just by alternating. Oh, how's it go? Just by alternating my Dresden blades. I'm not making them into Dresden blades. They're just like pie pieces at this point. And then just sew them together. And then you get strips like this. You add more of these to make it longer. Right? And then what I was doing was I was placing those big long strips right here along the border of the fabric, not the backing, but the batting, but the fabric, and on the top fabric. And then I overhang this part. I overhang this part, and then I line up both of these face side down, and then I sew maybe like a 1/2 inch I'm sewing on here, because when I flip it over, it's gonna look a little bit more. And then so what I do is I cut it 1 inch. I'm just cutting it a little bit extra. Cut it 1 inch. So when I put my binding on, or maybe I will sew this under like this, when I put that on, it's going to look like this. Or if I put a binding on, the binding is going to cover over this part anyway, like 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch on this side. So I'm either going to tuck this under all the way around so only 1/2 inch shows, or I'm going to put an extra binding on, which might be just like a black, it might be just a regular, just a plain black binding. Or maybe a brown or a red, I don't know yet. But yeah, so that was another cool little thing to do. And you can see it adds some interest to the top, to your placemat. It kind of adds some interest. Now I'm still in the process of this. And then a third way that you can do this, there's a lot of ways. I think I got fuzz in my eye. You can still make your Dresdens, but you're going to waste a lot with this one. But what you can do is, because now both sides of here are on the right sides, are the pretty sides, you can actually put this underneath or sew it into, so I don't know how I can show you here, sew it into your quilt, and then you have these little triangles sticking out like this, and that's how you can make a fancier, and on the other side will be finished too. And as long as this raw edge is inside the seam allowance, but from the backing, then it's going to be, this raw edge will be tucked into the inside, and the whole thing is finished. So you can trim it, you can trim these legs off, and then this will be weight. And actually, this lower portion, if you wanted to, you could, again, seesaw those back and forth, and then make more strings like this, and use the bottom part, like, you know, along here, and then you could actually finish with these little pointy ends on the outside. Let's just see kind of how that works a little bit. That looks pretty cool. I think it's just another added interest. So that's something else. Oh, here against the white. Something else to maybe think about when you're, you know, when you're making something else creative, when you're making your projects. It doesn't have to be a placemat. It could be a table runner. It could be a pillow case. It could be a tote bag. You know, you could even make a casserole carry container thing, mug rugs, you know, all kinds of stuff. So have fun with that. And I just wanted to show you my progress on there, because I had those ideas. I didn't want to forget those. All right, you guys, have fun. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.